Hello YouTube, how is y'all's day going? Today we have our top 10 trade candidates ahead of the trade deadline, which is on October 31st. So they could be happening anytime now. These trades have already been going off with Randy Gregory, with Chase Claypool and stuff like that. So, I felt like this was a good time to come out with a video. I'm trying to be more consistent on YouTube. But if you guys do like this video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment down as well. All of it helps. And then if you aren't following me on TikTok and Twitter, I'm much more active on there. I will leave the links in the description. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so these are in no particular order. It's just 10 guys that I think have the possibility of being traded. So, at 10, we have Marquise Brown. He's only been in Arizona for, this being his second season. So not long. Arizona's obviously kind of in like a retooling stage. Kyler Murray isn't back. They're playing better than most people expected, but, Marquise Brown, been a pretty consistent, speedy wide receiver in the NFL. I think that if you have him in a more of a wide receiver 2 role, he'll flourish even more, but he's definitely wide receiver 1 capable. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I definitely think Arizona likes him, but I think that if it's at the right price, there's lots of teams who need wide receiver that you could see him get traded. So I have the Browns listed. I think that they, in any way, shape, or form, if they can, try to make a push for the playoffs, they're going to, because, they kind of have failed their fans so far with all that they've done, trading for Deshaun Watson, kind of screwing their future. I think that them making a move like this, a win now move, could be realistic. I also think the Chiefs are kind of struggling as far as receiving now. When I say that, I don't mean like statistically, like Patrick Mahomes, still Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce's obviously the best tight end in the league, but what I am saying is that they don't have, like, it's kind of weird too, because I like to give Juju credit, but ever since Juju's left, it's like the passing game's gotten a little weaker. So I think that the Chiefs would be very interested in having a small, speedy guy, almost like a Tyreek. Don't think I'm comparing the two. Obviously, Tyreek Hill's infinitely better. I'm just saying a similar type player. I think the Kansas City Chiefs would be really interested in that. And then it already said there's already a rumor that it said the Panthers were interested in Marquise Brown. They're really kind of just looking for that wide receiver 1 the person can separate. So I think that's a realistic option for sure. Apparently, the Panthers are really trying to get Bryce Young a wide receiver 1 right now. So, next up we have Mike Gesicki. So yeah, Mike Gesicki is actually on. I couldn't find many pictures with him on the Patriots. He's on the Patriots. They already have Hunter Henry. I think that, with how this season has started, that they're not really. He was a 1-year deal, so this is maybe get a little value for that. There's some teams like the Saints I could definitely see being interested in Gesicki, maybe trying to make a push for, the division while it's weak. The Cowboys, they obviously drafted a rookie, but, I like Jake Ferguson a lot, but, Gesicki's definitely an upgrade. They lost Dalton Schultz, you get Gesicki, that's pretty good. And then the Chargers, they are always looking for passing options, in that air raid offense with Justin Herbert, and they have Gerald Everett, but having Gesicki and Everett and Parham even is a really good trio of tight ends, and they use all of them. So I think that this one, again, I'm not saying these guys will be traded. These are candidates. So this one I'm a little bit iffy on, but I could see it happening. Next up, we have Daniel Hunter. Yeah, Daniel Hunter, he's been rumored for probably 2 seasons to be traded. So actually, specifically to my Atlanta Falcons, which is kind of ironic. But, I do have the Atlanta Falcons listed here. Vikings starting off 0-4, not good. It's a contract year for Daniel Hunter. The Falcons obviously need a pass rusher. I would love it if we could grab him. It depends on what price, though. The Texans, they obviously have Will Anderson. Their pass rush is actually doing pretty good, but building a little bit more for the future, getting someone that's a little bit more dominant. Jerry Hughes is like 34, 35, I believe. So, would be a smart move. And I know that, I just forgot his name. Defensive coordinator for the 49ers, now the head coach. Anyways, defensive guru. I definitely think he could scheme with Daniel Hunter. I think he'd do really well. And then the Lions, just getting someone other than Romeo Quara, this is definitely an upgrade for him. Win now move. They're already very dominant. Why not get better? I could definitely see them pulling the trigger on an edge rusher. So I do have the Lions here. I think some people might be a little bit surprised by that, but I would not be. They've been, they're an active team right now. I could definitely see them trying to get ways to get better. Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, I have, and you'll see the next one is Courtland Sutton too, but I have Jeudy here, and I do list the Falcons because after week 2, I believe, the Falcons said that they were looking into the wide receiver market. Now, that can mean free agency, that can mean the trade market, it probably means both. But yeah, I definitely think the Broncos are about to enter a rebuild. I'm like 99% sure, and I honestly think that's the only way to go about it. I mean, this is abysmal. The fans deserve to get a rebuild, and they do need a rebuild. They need to be getting as many contracts off as they can and as many picks as they can, and they just need to go into full mode. And I think that with Sean Payne, he's not going to take it like that, but like he's going to want to do a rebuild is what I mean. So, yeah, I have the Falcons here. Jerry Jeudy, great route runner. Not super tall. He doesn't really necessarily fit our scheme, but I definitely think having him as a wide receiver 2, or, technically it could be wide receiver 1. You could have Drake as wide receiver 2, but I definitely think this would be an upgrade. And, again, depending on the price, I definitely could see the Falcons pulling the trigger on that. The New York Giants, the Giants have just a bunch of speedy slot receivers, Paris Campbell. Darius Slayton's probably, he's definitely a slot receiver, but he can play outside. You have Jalen Hyatt, he's okay on the outside, mostly better as a slot receiver. So, Isaiah Hodgins is really the only true outside receiver in my opinion. But anyways, my point is that they could definitely use a wide receiver. Now, it would be a little bit weird because they're playing really bad, but maybe this gets them over the hump. I don't know. Again, also asking price, I could definitely see them pulling trigger. And then obviously I have the Panthers again. I think that I think if the Panthers could choose to have one wide receiver out of all the ones in here that I have, it'd probably be Jerry Jeudy. And the reason why is because he's a little bit younger. Not much, but a little bit younger than some of these guys. And, he just is a very polished route runner. And that's something that you really like to have. Jerry Jeudy, I feel, in my opinion, is very underrated, probably just because he's been on the Broncos. Jerry Jeudy. Next up, like I said, we have Courtland Sutton. I wanted to put some different teams. I put the Bills because this seems like kind of like their guy. Courtland Sutton, a little underrated in speed. They like Gabe Davis a lot. And Courtland Sutton kind of reminds me of like a receiver like that the Bills like to use. Definitely an upgrade. This just gives another weapon, another push to maybe be, in the Super Bowl. And I think that the Bills, honestly, again, depending on asking price, if there was one team that I think should pull the trigger on getting a guy like Courtland Sutton for your wide receiver 2, I definitely think it should be the Bills. That's really smart football right there. You got Diggs, you got Sutton, you got Kincaid, you got Knox. That's a great group to be rolling forward into the offseason with. So just gives another reliable wide receiver to Josh Allen. And then the Chiefs again. Like I said, that wide receiver core needing a little bit of help. Courtland Sutton can absolutely be a wide receiver 1. Gives a little bit better separation probably for someone like Patrick Mahomes. And then the Saints I put up there. I was kind of having trouble. I didn't want to repeat too much, but the NFC South all except for the Buccaneers could definitely use some upgrades in the wide receiver room. Again, if the Saints want to make that push, give Derek Carr another weapon, a more of a reliable receiver rather than not talking crap because I love Shaheed, but just a little bit more of a reliable wide receiver, someone that's able to get a little bit more of separation once again. So I could see that happening, probably less happening to the Saints, but and then Brian Burns, I definitely think the Texans, there's a lot of edge rushers on the trade block right now, and I definitely think the Texans should go out and get one. I think that's going to push them over the hump, especially defensively. And D'Amico Ryans, I think would really like having more of a dominant edge rusher. So Brian Burns, I literally would have put the Saints and the Falcons in here if they weren't in the same division. So I just really doubt that happens. But the Rams apparently already offered a pretty handsome offer to the Panthers, and they declined it. I thought it was pretty foolish. I think the rumor was that it was like a couple, like 2 first-round picks or something from the Rams, which I think is too much, to be honest with you. But Brian Burns is a phenomenal player. Probably one of the best up-and-coming edge rushers in the league. He's really proven himself very physically dominant. And then the Bears. I threw the Bears in there because, the past 2 games they've been playing pretty well. It might be a win now move. It might be a move for the future. But grabbing an edge rusher like that in the Bears defense, they've been lacking that for a couple seasons now, ever since Khalil Mack's been gone. So Robert Quinn wasn't there anymore. Akeem Hicks isn't there anymore. Getting Brian Burns, somebody that can definitely get you some pass rush along your 2 rookie defensive tackles. Gervon Dexter's look pretty good too. So Brian Burns, possibility there. Josh Jacobs. I really, especially with how they've started, I really could see Josh Jacobs being traded. The Rams scream to me because they don't have a true RB1 right now. I could definitely see them pulling a move, again, depending on price. The Ravens, absolutely. J.K. Dobbins, love him to death. Man can't stay on the field. I feel terrible for him. I hate when that happens to players, because you have, there's so many players that, just if they could stay healthy, they'd be so good. I definitely think the Ravens, they love to run the ball, becoming a little bit more of a passing game because of the weapons that they've added this offseason. But, Josh Jacobs would be perfect in that offensive scheme, in my opinion. I think John Harbaugh would love to have him. And then the Steelers, Najee Harris, not really working out. Warren, I think, again, right price, maybe they move on from Najee. Maybe this is like a second and Najee for Josh Jacobs. Like, who knows? But I could see that happening too, because they like to run the ball as well. It's been a while since they've had a extremely dominant running back in Pittsburgh, and I think that they could definitely end up pulling the trigger on someone like Josh Jacobs. So, Josh Jacobs. Now moving on to Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen. I really, he hasn't really lived up to the hype. He's been a perfectly fine player, in my opinion. He's definitely, he misses some tackles sometimes. He's okay in pass coverage, but Patrick Queen, they traded for Roquan Smith. They have these 2 kind of as a duo now. He's doing pretty damn good, but it's contract year. Do the Ravens want to pay this guy, or it's either pay him or let him walk? And when you're at this point in the season, you could get some value for him. And I think that people would bank on the upside of Patrick Queen. Maybe we do better in a different scheme. Who knows? So I have the Bills here. The Bills linebacking group is extremely weak. There's no denying that. Same with the Eagles. Both those teams' linebacking groups are pretty weak, but especially the Bills. So I could definitely see the Bills, again, barring price. I think that they could pull the trigger on something like that after losing Tremaine Edmonds to the Bears. And the Eagles just kind of went and signed a couple guys in free agency. Miles Jack didn't and end up panning out, but Nicholas Morrow, forgot who else they signed, but lost TJ Edwards also to the Bears. So both of these teams lost their linebackers, their main linebackers, to the Bears, and I could definitely see them being in on Patrick Queen. Dallas Cowboys too. They obviously have Leighton Vander Esch and stuff like that, but the linebackers, they could definitely use an upgrade. And Cowboys have never been shy to pull the trigger on a trade. They got Stephon Gilmore from trade. So maybe that this is something where, like, hey, alongside Leighton Vander Esch, we get a little upgrade here, a little bit better for the defense, and they just had Trayvon Diggs go out, so maybe this is like, their way of trying to boost it back up. Obviously he's not a corner. I'm just saying that maybe better in the run game or better in, zone coverage. Who knows? I don't know how they'll use him, but Dan Quinn definitely, if there's a defense coordinator that will know how to use him, it's Dan Quinn. So Leonard Williams, this one I feel the least confident about because he's got a decent contract. And it is a contract year. I'm just saying for the team to take on for whoever trades to him. So, in interior defensive linemen, these were like the first 3 teams that came to my mind. Was the Jags, the Bears, and the Bills. All 3 of these, there's really not much to say. It could use upgrades. It's not like they're bad. Whenever I'm saying they could use this, there's really only been one group that I said was bad, and it was the Bills linebacking group. But it's an upgrade, right? So Leonard Williams, I'm not even a big fan of him, but I could see him, if the Giants are just look like he's getting older. I think he's almost 30. He's getting a little bit older. It's his contract year. We're going to have to pay him or let him walk. Maybe we trade him for, and again, I honestly think Leonard Williams wouldn't go for much. I'd probably put a 4th or a 5th rounder on him. So there's that. And then finally, we have Josh Allen. Definitely thought about putting my Falcons here. Could definitely see that as a possibility. But, I didn't want to get too repetitive. I'd put my Falcons a couple times. So I actually do think that a team that nobody really thinks about, which is a defense that's doing pretty damn good, is the Seattle Seahawks. But definitely, Uchenna Nwosu, and then they have Boye Mafe on the other side. And Boye Mafe is, granted, a pretty damn good edge rusher, but he's nowhere near Josh Allen. Seahawks, maybe trying to make a little bit of a push. They got the dominant 49ers in their division. Adding someone like Josh Allen is going to make that defense scary as hell. So if again, barring price, I guarantee you the teams that trade for these players, it's going to be barring the price. They're not going to go and put some crazy, the Seattle doesn't need to, they really don't. But again, barring price, it just depends on what these teams are being able to pay for them. But I could definitely see the Seahawks making a move like that. Josh Allen, a very good edge rusher, obviously. Saints, yeah, I mean they've definitely lost their edge rushing pieces. Lost a couple to free agency, lost them because of cap space. It ends up just making it where this would be a really good trade for them to have that kind of that physically dominant edge rusher. And honestly, the truth be told, I think that if there's one edge rusher that doesn't get traded, it's probably Brian Burns, but right next to it would be Josh Allen. I think if there's an edge rusher that's traded, it's probably Daniel Hunter. But yeah, I could see the Saints going in on this, and then the Rams obviously in on Brian Burns. Why wouldn't they be in on Josh Allen? Two pretty damn comparable edge rushers, so I could definitely see that one happening. But yeah, so that is going to be it for the video, guys. Once again, if you guys did enjoy it, just hit that subscribe button, comment, like, show me in some sort of way that you did enjoy it. But y'all stay safe and God bless.